Now that you know the greatest practical risk to Bitcoin, that means one that you can see that's outside of you, something you can easily observe. What's the greatest real risk to investing with Bitcoin? The greatest real risk to investing with Bitcoin is putting in more than you can afford to. And that's one I experienced firsthand. I have lost more than $5,000 investing in Bitcoin in 2014 and 2015. And what I did, I will share with you here because I read a book called What I Learned Losing $1 Million about how a guy lost $1 million in the stock market. And that was really helpful for me to observe the same mistakes in myself and to stop continuing to make them. So I hope by sharing this with you that you are able to identify the same possibilities within yourself. Now, you could easily look at me and say, oh, that's so stupid. I'd never do that. What a fool. If you're seeing those things, then often it can be difficult to see the same tendencies in yourself. I learned from everyone around me today because I want to be able to honestly diagnose what I'm doing. So I hope this story is helpful for you. Here's how I got involved with Bitcoin. I didn't, of course, hear about it here or here. I heard about it right around here. In 2014, when it was around $600, I bought my first Bitcoin. I put in what I could afford to lose. I put in maybe a tenth of a Bitcoin or something like that. I put in like $60 or so, and I lost on it. It went down into the 500s pretty quickly. And then I didn't have much interest in it for a little while until I had a friend with the Bitcoin startup who started talking to me. The Bitcoin price dropped way down, and then right in here, after it dropped down, I thought, all right, I can make some good money on this. It's going to go back up. Well, the worst thing happened. I was right. When I bought a little bit of Bitcoin, and it went back up, and I said, I'm right. Look. It went back up. Huge potential for profit on this. So then what did I do? I started buying more of it. And by this point, I wasn't buying more than I could afford to lose, though. I was buying a little bit here and a little bit there. I was being pretty responsible with it. So even by this time, then getting down, it starts to drop here. And then I start getting mad that I've bought a little bit of Bitcoin. I might have had 1 or 2 Bitcoin by then. I didn't have very much, but I was excited. I was learning about it. And then I start getting mad though, because I started losing money. I started being wrong. And I didn't like being wrong. I wanted to double down and prove I was right. So what did I do? I started buying more. Oh, it's going to go up. It's going to go up. And what Ravender tells you in this course, don't invest more than you can afford to lose, and it's a long-term investment. I was buying in trying to get my money back, double my money, make a quick buck overnight. I was trying to hope that I was in right here, and then in just a month or two, I could make all this money, make several hundred or maybe even a few thousand at once. Well, the more I kept putting in, the harder it was to back out. And all of a sudden, then the price starts dropping a whole lot. Well, then I try and back out once. I say, when it plummets down to 300 and it's the middle of my brother's wedding and I'm obsessed over Bitcoin and I'm the best man and I'm driving him to his wedding and I'm talking about buying Bitcoin. He's like, you got to stop, man. You're crazy about this. Regardless of the money, you've put in more than you can afford to lose. You need to stop. So then I sold my Bitcoin here and said, okay, I'm out. Well, of course it wasn't that simple. The emotional investment I had, the whole I'm going to be right, I wasn't satisfied. What had I done? I bought a bunch of Bitcoin here and then ended up selling a lot of it down around here. So I wasn't quite satisfied with that. I was wrong, and that bothered me. I didn't like to be wrong. So I had a friend with a Bitcoin startup who I started talking with more than around here. So just a few months later, I got back into it. Well, what happened when I got back into it here? Almost immediately it starts dropping again, and I start getting into the same cycle again. And all of a sudden, I've put money I've literally borrowed. I borrowed money to keep my business afloat so I didn't go bankrupt. And by the beginning of 2015, I was dumping all of my loan money into Bitcoin. It was a really bad situation that if I'd have got my Bitcoin stolen or anything at that point, I'd have been absolutely wiped out. I had all kinds of debt. I took several personal loans so that my business didn't go under, so that I could teach courses on Udemy. And then I wasn't used to having 20, 30, 40,000 of cash sitting in the bank, which I borrowed so that I could teach on Udemy and not worry about having to pay my bills. That was a year's worth of money. Well, I made the mistake of dumping that into Bitcoin. And so when it started to fall, I very quickly, because up to this point, I've been trading as many as 10 or so Bitcoin at once up here. I started getting in for larger amounts, trying to help my friend out here. And then by the time it bottomed, I bought 20, 30, or 40, I don't even remember. I put almost all the money I had. And money on credit, borrowed all of the money I had. When it went down into the hundreds here, I dumped everything I had. I went all in. And again, if my Bitcoin had got stolen, I'd have been absolutely ruined. I'd have been bankrupt. You wouldn't be here with me right now. I then, thankfully, could see what I was doing. Like, oh my God, I'm doing the same thing I was doing 3 months ago. This is a bad habit. It's distracting me from the point of borrowing all this money to start with. So then I cashed all of it out. I did make, on every Bitcoin I bought down around 170, I made $40 or $50 of Bitcoin on it. Just enough so that I didn't lose a whole lot of money overall here. Overall, between all of my trading on Bitcoin, I lost more than $5,000. I put in way more than I could afford to lose. And then I took 1 year, complete, no Bitcoin. Don't mess with it, don't look at it, don't worry about it. And now with getting involved with Ravender again, I have the chance to enter Bitcoin responsibly, to actually follow what's in this course, and that's what I'm setting up now. I'm setting up an amount of Bitcoin. I'll buy the same amount every day, a little bit, whatever I can afford to lose, and I'm even looking at the lectures in the course to determine that. An amount I can afford to lose, and do it for a long-term investment with a concrete plan. That I'm going to hold it indefinitely, and I will sell it if it hits a certain point. Like if it hits up around another one of these spikes again, I'll sell it whenever it starts to drop again. So to buy an amount I can afford to lose. I'm grateful now, since I've started teaching on Udemy, the Udemy courses have went really well. Now I have more money, and yet I understand the biggest risk to doing any investing, whether it's Bitcoin or anything else, is ego. The need to be right. Getting overly emotionally involved. That's the biggest real risk with investing. And if you can be aware of that risk, like I'm aware of that risk now, then there's the opportunity to safely invest what you can afford without getting emotionally attached. If you're looking at it as something fun, if you're looking at it as something that can be addicting, that can be inflating, then that's the biggest risk. If you're looking at it like, hey, I could put in a few dollars every day into Bitcoin, or a few dollars every week into it, or whatever currency you're using, and then in 10, 20 years, this might be worth 2, 3, 5, 10 times as much as I originally invested it in. So that's what I'm looking to do now. And I'm grateful that I've had this experience I can share here with you. So maybe there's a different outcome available for you. And hey, even if you do the same thing, you don't have to feel bad about it. You can say, oh, he did the same thing. I'm not a bad person. I'm just a regular person doing my best each day. And you can have the chance to share with others. So whatever happens here, thank you so much for watching this. I hope this has been useful for you.